back to West Ham United for the West Ham transfer show. We're going to be discussing a few people today. I'm joined by Anton. Anton, how are you?
Yes, I'm good. Thank you very much, Jake. How are you?
Not too bad. Not too bad. So let's see who's in the chat and then we will get started then. Trev Tube, I hope you're well. Dan, I hope you're well as well. Bully World, love the opening music. That's all, Anton. That's all, Anton. Yeah, funky.
Listen, I won't take the credit for it, to be fair. Still did find it, so I'll give him the credit for that.
He won't watch this. What time do you guys? We're here, Stel. Stel. Oh my God, we're here, Russ. Don't worry. Mick, I hope you're well as well. So we're going to be discussing two players today, and we will get straight on in with it then. So we're going to start with a youth prospect, Pierre Ekwah. I did notice, that he did do a trial with us back along because I can remember they streamed the game on YouTube and me and Stel were in the chat and he was plugging Irons United and he was doing all of that on it all. And I was really impressed with him. And he's called, I do believe he's called Pierre Ekwah, and a prospect for the future, Anton, that we've sort of picked up, nearly gone through the line for nearly £1.3 million, formerly of Chelsea, but someone for the future.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I know you're going to give people some information about him, etc., all that sort of stuff. But he does look like he's going to be one for the future, and obviously he's played for West Ham, and he's what I think you said is he on trial at West Ham or has been on trial recently, etc. Yeah. So it sounds like Moyes and West Ham are kind of preparing for the future and making sure they're signing up as much of the best talent they can find.
Yeah. Obviously, previously a couple of weeks ago, signed Thierry Nevers from Reading as well. So we are making steps to sign some of these youth players. But he has also played for the under-16s for France as well, because under-16 level he has played a couple of times for them. So just a bit of background info on him then. So It has been claimed that Ekwah has been training with West Ham in recent weeks. A contract for up to 4 years is now waiting for Ekwah, and West Ham will pay around £1.3 million for this player to get him signed up. He is primarily a defensive midfielder who can also play as a centre back. He has been recorded 13 times playing for France's under-16s. So he's breaking through at national level, which is good to see. And he was playing for Chelsea, now hopefully going to make the move to West Ham. This past season, the French teenager bagged 1 goal in 7 Premier League 2 games, and he did actually score in that game against Arsenal under-23s last month.
That was for West Ham, wasn't it, Jake? Yeah.
For West Ham, yeah. So obviously now he's trolled at West Ham, and it seems to have gone well. So we could sign this man up in the next couple of days. We could. See, right?
I think it genuinely is a good potential. We're signing players like Frederick Alves. You've just mentioned there, the boy from Reading. We're getting this lad from Chelsea. And if you think back to when Chelsea let go of players like Declan Rice and he came to West Ham, and look how that has turned out for West Ham. So it doesn't mean that every single player is going to turn out to be like that. However, if it is another talent that they have. That they are getting rid of, and we can snap them up and mould them into what we're looking for, then it's definitely going to be a good bit of business for West Ham.
Yeah, I completely agree. Vegeta, I hope you're well. Gary, I hope you're well as well. Everyone's saying hello to each other. So, what position is Ekwah? I mean, a bit like almost Anton, a bit like Declan Rice. What we've seen, he's primarily a central defensive midfielder, but can step back into the centre back role as well, which is ideal for us. If he could break through into the first team and then. In the next 3 years, these are positions that we are lacking depth in, and whether we'll sign players now, but definitely for the future, if we could sign this man up for peanuts, which sounds like what we're going to do now. He could break through. He might not. It's a bit like, as you said, these players like Alves and Nevers and these players, but it's really nice to see David Moyes kind of signing up these players for the future that he's seen has done really, really well.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think in that position in particular, if you can keep finding talent, I mean, he looks like he's got a fantastic stride on him. I mean, I know you said you watched him when he was trialling for West Ham. as of late. And I mean, what was your kind of judgment on that particular game that you saw of him?
Yeah, well, I think him and Mipo Odebeko were the two standouts on that day. Mipo Odebeko seems to be the standout in every single under-23 West Ham game. But he really, really got a bit of pace getting in behind. I thought of what I watched of him, he did look like a really good talent that we could see in the future. Looking dangerous. Going forward sometimes, but defensively, I thought he looked really solid as well. Which David Moyes likes. We all know David Moyes would prefer the defensive capabilities, and he's got that. And I think he had a really good all-round game, I thought.
There's a valid point. I think Russ has put it in there actually. Can I bring that one up? We can always sell them for more than we bought them for if he doesn't make it. That's a model that West Ham have not been used to for such a long time. So I genuinely believe that there is something to be snapping up some young talent. And if they don't make it, if you snap them up for, say, something like £1 million and they don't make it onto your team, as long as you can sell on for some form of profit, it's totally worth it. And it's a model that I'm not going to big them up. I struggle to big them up, but Spurs have done it for years, where they've brought in younger, even championship players as well, or younger players. And if they don't make it, they sell on for some form of profit. And it's a good model to have. So, yeah, a valid point you've made. You have, Russ, you have.
Yeah. Makes it sounds promising. Not heard this news prior to now. Thank you. No, that's all right. Yeah. I went on and I looked, and these two stories we're going to talk about today came up quite a lot. Right, Stell is in. Hopefully, you didn't watch the first little bit.
Obviously, Stell didn't watch the first bit, then, did he?
No. Don't forget to mention that Ekwah played the last two West Ham under-23 games for West Ham and scored in the last game against Arsenal. Yeah, we did mention that, Stell. If you were here for the start, we did mention that as well. And began at Chelsea, so must be all right. I mean, they want to ship him out now, which you can't read much into that, but let's hope that he does all right then. Right, Peach is in. Anton and Jake, two blood clot legends. I hope you're well, Peach. Let's have a look here. Russ says, a valid point I've made. Mark the date, people. Yeah. Yeah. Right. What Stell says, you're lucky you have me as the font of all knowledge.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Right. So there's that Pierre Ekwah that has been linked and hopefully he's going to sign for West Ham. But our next player, the main story, which excited me a little bit. Next is right. I'm going to pronounce this wrong as always. Joaquin Correa from Lazio over in Serie A. Now, this player's done really, really well in the last couple of seasons over there. Just a bit of his back history then. Obviously, there he is with Messi because he's an Argentine international. Previously played as a winger, so a bit like Antonio that we've seen that been converted from a winger to a striker that we've seen. Argentina stats 6 caps, 2 goals, so he's broke through at international level, which is nice to see. So definitely a talent there if he's breaking through at Argentina. 26 years old, 38 appearances, 11 goals, 6 assists. So Anton, there's some really, really good stats there. £26 million. I'm going to watch this. Do you think they'll be worth it? We're going to go into scout report and all of that in a minute, but just straight off the bat, what you've heard about this player, do you think he'll be worth it?
I mean, again, just to kind of reiterate to what we kind of do is we look into the player. We don't portray to say we know everyone and every single footballer that's in existence. However, we do look into scout reports. We do look into some YouTube videos. You try and marry it up and you try and see if you can match what Moyes will look for. And when you go into the scout report, you'll see that potentially you can see why this player is someone that Moyes would be interested in because of his previous history of playing as a winger. Therefore, he likes to track back. He likes to go out wide and then cut inside, etc. And like you mentioned, Jake, he does a little bit of like an Antonio. So I think it could be something. I think his value's not too inflated. But I think you're going to talk about some of his other stats from other clubs, which isn't as great, but he's still only 26 years old and he's still got there. Are there other players out there though, Jake, that are maybe better value for money? Possibly, but let's see what you've got to say.
Yeah. He signed oh God, I hate pronouncing
Sampdoria.
names. There we go. Signed him for £9 million. He played just over 31 games, scoring 3 goals, as you said, Anton. Not fantastic stats, but young player. Where he played at Sampdoria. And then he moved on. Sevilla signed him for £11 million from Sampdoria. Played over 47 games, scoring only 5 goals. But his Lazio stats, as we put up earlier on, are a little bit better, but those aren't fantastic. But let's just have a look into him a little bit then. So the whole transfer rumor, according to Italy News, Everton and West Ham are keen to sign the forward, and also Liverpool are attracted to him as well. Which club he'll go to, if it's out of those three, we'll just have to wait and see. Around £26 million is where we're looking at for this player. A bid's been submitted from one of these three clubs. Who it is, we don't know. But I'd like to think that if this rumor is true, we'd be putting bids in there, which I'd like to see. That's for sure. So, in 38 appearances this season, as we said, 11 goals and 6 assists, which is pretty good going. Scoring 7 goals and 3 assists in 22 league appearances. The Argentine has played a total of 3,484 minutes of football in Serie A across 2 seasons for Lazio, adding 20 goal contributions in this period, which averages 1 per every 174 minutes played. So Anton is a bit more better, his stats at Lazio, and it also mentions that he likes to play in a 2-striker role, which he plays at Lazio, which isn't the way we play. But if we did sign this player, I think David Moyes has got a history to convert players, because he's got height. He's taller than Mikel Antonio, I've seen, and I think he could have those physical attributes in there. And I think he'd be a really, really good signing. But it's just whether he could convert to the Premier League and whether he could convert to be a one-striker player.
I think the thing is with a manager like David Moyes, I think he is looking for. I said this a lot through this season. He's looking for the player rather than potentially what his output at that immediate point in his career is. So what Moyes is looking for is the player to mould into the squad, because that's what he's done this season. He's moulded the squad, and he's getting all the players to deliver the outputs that the squad needs. Therefore, if they don't score loads of goals, they need to do other work for the team, etc. And this guy has got goals in him 100%, and he does work on the wings, which is what Moyes likes. He covers a lot of ground. You said he's I think he's like borderline 6'2" as well, so he's a big lad for up front. I think he's pretty mobile. So I see why we're linked to a player of that standard, and especially now the fact, Jake, that he's not so known in the public eye, because he's kind of maybe gone under the radar a little bit, but he's recognised as one of Argentina's strikers. He's playing alongside world-class strikers like Messi, albeit only 6 caps, but he is doing it. And he's played for 3 big clubs in Europe as well, so he's got some experience there, and he's obviously found his feet under Lazio, and it's an option. It's definitely an option. And I think, I'm maybe contradicting my comment I said to you earlier on about a player that scored goals throughout his career, and we should be looking at the stats. In actual fact, Moyes has completely changed my mind on that completely. It's the player, it's what he's got as an ability. What ground does he cover? Will he work as part of a team? Does he have the right attitude? And if he's got all of them, then he's potentially got a future at a club like West Ham. And this guy, Correa, could be that guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I completely agree with that. And it would be a gamble getting him from Serie A, but Serie A experts have said that this player could adapt really well to the Premier League. But it says the striker operates mainly in 2 positions, obviously, as a striker, the advanced area of the middle third and the attacking third. He does favour a position on the left-hand side of the pitch, which is understandable considering he was a winger. He is from that area of the pitch, so he can utilise his explosive speed and ability on the ball to isolate opposition or make runs, which is almost a little bit of Jesse Lingard in there, isn't it? Getting the pace, getting out of those hard positions and getting up the pitch almost in a counter-attacking way. And
Yeah.
it seems to be that when he plays in a striker with two strikers, it seems like he's more of the playmaker. He kind of brings them up the pitch, and then he's not the one that scores all of the goals. But he could suit West Ham really, really well if he adapts.
Yeah, Jake, we all know we need signings, right? We're going to be playing upwards of 50 first team games next year between the League Cup, FA Cup, the Premier League, and the Europa League. So we're going to need players in, and it depends on what you believe in terms of the transfer kitty, etc. But I personally think we need to bring in another minimum two strikers, and I feel like they're maybe going to go out there and try and bring in someone, well, I don't know. I think they'll use a decent chunk of the kitty for a striker, and they may go and find a diamond in the rough, a bit like what we say about Souček and Soufal, etc. It's just whether or not what striker it will be. But he's got European experience, obviously, by playing in between Italy and Spain. Not prolific, but the stats this season, I think he's involved in one goal nearly every 2 games, or just under one goal in every 2 games, which is a good stat for Lazio as well. So we need players. And if we think back to when we signed Sebastian Haller for £45 million, Jake, I mean, me and you probably were sitting there absolutely buzzing with life, thinking we've just signed this fantastic player, but it just didn't work within our system. And that's the difference of what West Ham are potentially looking at now compared to what we were looking at in the past. We're looking at players that are going to have to fit a system. And this is where we have to dig deeper into the player and look into what they do, not just their stats. And even though stats are important, we need to look into what they can offer for the team. And hopefully you've kind of given people a bit of an insight into what he can do and why Moyes would look at him.
Yeah, well, he has got a goal threat, and we all know that because of some of his stats that he's seen. But part of the issue that he's got is his finishing isn't kind of up there with the best. His willingness to shoot regardless of the angle that he is presented with. Often you will find Correa in possession wide of goal, where he will attempt to shoot from acute angles, which is almost good in a way and bad in a way. Having the eye for the goal, really wanted to get a shot off. But then again, it's almost that striker's mentality is I want to shoot, I want to score, and almost that selfishness that you see in strikers. But also, Correa is also willingly strong defensively as well, which of course I'll come on to that in a minute, Anton. But of course, David Moyes likes a player that can attack, but he likes a player that can track back and defend as well. Otherwise, they just won't get the minutes on the pitch.
Yeah, 100%, mate. 100. I do agree. It'll be an interesting one. I mean, I think there are other strikers that West Ham have been linked to that would fit our system potentially better? Yes. Would I like us to go for them? Yes. Would I accept Correa? Yes. But would I prefer others? And I mean, I'll give you an example. I've done a video on the other day. I'm terrible pronunciations as well, but Holosnik from Sparta Prague. I mean, he does look like the real deal. And what I like about him is he does shoot from distance and he's got a decent peg on him. But, it doesn't mean that this guy's not the right guy for West Ham. And we have to think like that now. We have to think differently in terms of our transfers. We don't have to look at the £40 million signing. We don't have to look at that. As long as Moyes has got his budget, he's going to spend his budget on what he sees fit. Then I've got full faith in what he brings in. Yeah,
and it is in Moyes we trust, that's for sure. And I agree with you. It's probably not the perfect player that will fit the system, but in Moyes we trust. In terms of his defensive stats, he recovered the ball on 33 occasions for Lazio in the final third, with 19 of these recoveries coming from the middle of the pitch, immediately outside the penalty area. So he's good at picking up the ball and almost trying to take it forward a bit, get up the pitch, almost a bit like Jesse Lingard.
I mean that stat there alone, Jake. I mean that's. Recovery, was that recoveries you were talking about?
Yeah.
I mean, that's nearly. I mean, I don't know how many games he played for Lazio this season. Have you got that?
Oh, I
Was it
don't. But he's
is it
paid.
30 something or something like that? Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's only one.
38.
Yeah. So I mean, on average, it's one per game. On average, it's one per game. But maybe there's odd time where it's two per game, etc. And that shows you that he does track back if needed. Yeah, I think there's some really, really nice stats, and 19 of them, I think you said there as well, that came from the middle of the park. So, maybe he doesn't have to drop back too much, but he does come back and support defensively in midfield. But he's then got the ability to get up top and go and score a goal as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. He offers a very high work rate in both aspects of the game, which of course David Moyes would like, and comparisons have been made almost to a player like Pablo Fornals as well, with a really high work rate, which is another box ticked in terms of David Moyes' checklist of a player, because he loves those kinds of players, that's for sure. But let's have a look at some comments and have a look and see what you guys are saying about Correa. Then let's scroll up and have a look here. Russ says the My Hammers 11 Syria A correspondent Pete on poll rates him very highly. He does. So that is really, really good. James says sounds like the type of player we will get our fingers burnt with.
But there's two ways of looking at every signing. I mean, you never know what each signing is going to turn out to be. I mean, who thought when we signed Pablo Fornals that he would turn out to be the player we've currently got? I think we were excited about him because of his creativity, Jake, but I'm more excited about Fornals because he's become this menace in the midfield with creativity, but he's an absolute menace. So it's just each individual,
Yeah, definitely. Daniela says it is said that Liverpool have to sell to bring in big money for a player. Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. I think when he looks at them three clubs, probably the order that he'll say is Liverpool, West Ham, then Everton at this stage of going off the last season, Champions League football, Europa League football, no European football at all. But we'll just have to wait and see on that. Mick says Moyes likes a Swiss Army type of player, and Moyes we trust indeed.
That's a good statement, actually, Mick. I like that.
We do. Right then, Luke's in with the joke. We make a Correa move. God, I am funny. I know, Luke. I know. Trev Chu says spot on. Anton must ensure a forward has the work rate / work ethic and pace required to fit how we play. Yeah, I completely agree. Jake's caviar for breakfast is a bit over the top, to be honest. Yeah, I don't have caviar for breakfast. Luke says Correa, decent player. If we could get him, yeah, I agree, Luke. Let's have a look here. Daniel says, I think it's very important to get a player they will fit into the squad's dynamics. We cannot then get a player bigger than you. It was team's dynamics that got us sixth. Yeah, and it's the whole squad's just mentality, and all of the players come together this season, Anton. And there's no egos in the side, and we don't want any egos to come in now to kind of ruin it. And that is what people are saying about a certain Marco Arnautovic. I think we can say that name because Stell's gone now. But yeah, we don't want no egos in the side.
Yeah, no, we don't. I mean, there's nothing wrong with an ego. Like, there's really not. I mean, me and you deal with Stell on a daily basis, and we just have to manage him. It's about how you manage an ego. If you think of Arnautovic, that supposedly came in and upset the cattle mark and upset the team and upset the squad, it's a bit like how you think about Stell when he comes to Irons United, and he comes in and he just does what he wants, and that's what you see from outside. However, what me and Jake do is we manage him. We manage his expectations. We send him a text every morning, see if he's okay. Has he had his cup of tea? Has he fed? Has he watered, etc.? And that's exactly what David Moyes does. I genuinely believe David Moyes has got this whole situation hooked up line and sinker, and he's not going to bring in a player that's going to upset that cattle mark. And if you look at like the Arnautovic thing, for example, and you look at the images that were put all over social media about them and everything that Mark Noble said, that speaks volumes in itself. Do I think he was a bit of a crazy character? Possibly, but there's nothing wrong with a fiery character, Jake. People would never have taken a risk on Paolo Di Canio, and look how that turned out. And you can say that about several players. People weren't going to take a risk on Julian Dix. When Julian Dix left West Ham the first time round, he went to Liverpool with a terrible, terrible record. He then came back to West Ham, and look how that worked out. So you've got to be able to bring in, manage. You have to be able to manage egos. something I think about previous managers at West Ham have had is we've never been able to do it. The funny thing is, Chicharito, for example, I don't think he was a bad ego, but I think he had an ego as a player. I think other players we've signed in the past have had an ego, but I think under the right manager, they may have been able to manage that ego a little bit better than maybe the likes of Pellegrini or Bilic, etc. You know, I wonder if under the likes of Moyes, he'd have set the tone from the start and managed it that way. So, yeah.
Luke says, it worries me signing a player from Serie A. We have an awful record from there.
Yes and no, but it's got to be down to the fact of the man. It's got to fall on the head of the manager on this one. So you bring in a player and you don't get them to work for you, then that's down to the manager's fault for not, pushing the player to whatever they do. Antonio's comments, Jake, at the end of the season, do you remember what he said about the running stats? He said that when Moyes came in, he looked at us all and we were like, you aren't running. You are hardly covering as much ground. And he said the minute Moyes changed that was the minute that things changed at West Ham. That's exactly what he's done. So it doesn't matter really where the player comes from, as long as he works hard. And that's what we as fans want, Jake. We want players to work hard because we love it. A bit like David Cross, when he came on the show the other day, he said to Stell, and he said to everyone that was on the show, he said, like, West Ham fans just want a player to turn up and work really hard. And if you do that, you've won them over. And when you work hard, you'll reap the benefits. You might not reap the benefits immediately, but you'll reap the benefits eventually. And I think if you look at the likes of Fornals, he's reaping the benefits right now at West Ham. I'm trying to think of other players like Arnautovic, for example, when he was at West Ham and he was changed up front, he's reaping the awards. Antonio, he's reaping the awards because he's working hard, covering all the ground, etc. Creswell, he's reaping the awards because he's found his mojo again. And that's because I reckon Moyes has come back in and gone, I know there's a player there, but in order to get this player there, you have to do this, 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 and this. And in order to do this and this and this, you need to work with the squad, and bang, you'll get the results. I'll stop talking, sorry.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I completely agree. And Moyes has been kind of a magic man with it. He's got players to work, and you mentioned there players like Creswell, Fornals, and where Pellegrini and these managers struggled to bring them all together. That's what David Moyes has done, and that's why we've been so successful this season. Toby says, I'd love to get an exciting signing done early on, then I will be able to relax a bit. I completely agree, Toby, and this is why I wanted the Crowell thing to go through. I mean, it's all up in the air. You can read what you like. It's everywhere. There's some people saying it won't happen. There's some people saying it will happen. But
I think what we need to do, and we say this over here, like, we know you've got ITKs all over the world covering all many clubs. I think as soon as you see a player wearing your top, that's when you can get the confirmation. We try and report as reports suggested. That's what we try and say, because we don't believe. I really struggle to believe a lot. Even when we get early team news, Jake, when we get early team news, I'm sitting there going, it's not my information, it's someone else's information, but we get the news. It comes to us and I'm like, I can't really believe it until it actually is announced. So it's just the same with every other player. Do I think we could get Krul over the line? Yes. And I think he would be a fantastic signing for West Ham. But we have to just wait and see how this starts to fathom out, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. James says, bet we re-sign Hugo. It is his birthday today. Could you imagine that? Oh dear. Right. Russ, he does what he wants. He does what he wants. Tell us, Uaku. He does what he wants. Bullying Stale Boss, no. Wow. Nothing.
Well, we don't condone bullying.
We don't.
Bullying. No,
we don't. Luke says, Estelle is a genius. How many rude names you can get him to say is a good sport? I know.
Yeah, I know, he falls for it all the time.
Trev's Tube says, but look at the flair and vision Stell brings. But yeah, it could be a really, really interesting signing. Why is Jake at school? It's the last day of half term today. I'll be back at school on Monday. You'll all be glad to know. I won't be here. I'll be at school. But yeah.
Reese, I know it's not bullying. I'm jesting. I'm jesting, mate. I know you're not being serious. Don't worry.
But anything else to add on that, Anton? I mean, there's
I just want to cover this comment from look, I'm not digging you out, mate. I really don't. I agree with you. We do have not the best record against signing players from the Serie A. I completely agree with you, mate. I think that what Moyes is doing to me as a West Ham fan is completely changing my mindset. He is absolutely 360 degrees turned things around, or 100. We've done a full 180 on me. Like, I was looking this direction. We signed Moyes. I was underwhelmed. I'm now overwhelmed, and I panic about the potential link to Everton, which I don't think is going to happen. But I panic, and I can't believe, Jake, that I'm even remotely like going, don't touch him, because I believe every statement that Moyes said when he first came to the club. Give me time and I'll build you something. I believe it. I'm totally there. And I'm backing him to the guns. If West Ham, I want West Ham to do fantastic next season, but if we don't do so well, but as long as we survive in that Premier League and we give a decent cup run and we give a good account of ourselves in the Europa League, he needs another season after next season. No ifs or buts about it, because he needs the time to build. We're making a big adjustment going into Europa League next season, Jake. Another however many games that's going to be, traveling all over Europe. Like, it's a big adjustment, and you can't just expect to go and sign 8 players and for every single one of them to knock it out the park instantly. However, if there's a man that's going to do it, it's David Moyes.
It is. Just to recap then, so we've been linked with a France under-16 international, Ekwah, that is pretty much nearly over the line for about £1.3 million. A really good youth player that could break through in a couple of years' time. And we've been linked with Correa, Joaquin Correa, not Angel Correa. Argentina stats: 6 caps and 2 goals. Doing all right. Previously played as a winger, as we said. 26 years old, 38 appearances, 11 goals, 6 assists. Around £26 million. That's just for you, Reese, because you asked for us to read the stats back out because he missed the first part of the show. Reese says he's a football manager, wonder kind. well, if it makes you happy, Reese, that's all right. But Anton, final thoughts on the players then?
Yeah, young lad from Chelsea, bring him in, and it's not even a risk. It's bring him in, see if he works out. If he works out, good. If he doesn't, you can potentially sell him on for a profit, touch wood. But without trying to look at the negative side of it, he looks like a decent player. I know you saw him play for West Ham in the trials, and he looks like he can be a decent player. So that's a positive move. And then the lad from Lazio, Correa, we're linked to everyone. It's transfer merry-go-round circus time at West Ham just now. So we're going to be linked to every player and their gran and auntie and uncle and cousin and you name it, dog, pet, whatever you want to call it. So he looks decent, and I think if Moyes identifies him as the right player, then I'm absolutely all for it. But either way, we just need players in the door. So fingers crossed.
We do, and it's all down to Moyes. I'll back him, whoever he brings in, as long as it's not Carlos Sanchez or Roberto. I'll back him, because we need players, and hopefully we can get some decent signings in. But I think that will do it. Thank you to everybody in the chat. Stell's a good-looking curry. Just clicked on the comments, and that's the first thing I read. Oh dear. Anyway, so I think that will do it. Like, subscribe, all of that jazz. As I say. And yeah, it's Friday. West Ham Daily on Monday. Whoever it will be, I'll be in school doing maths and all of that.
Jake, you've got your channel, West Ham Unofficial.
West Ham Unofficial.
Head across there, hit the subscribe button, please, for Jake. Give him a helping hand. And yeah, Jake, you'll be hopefully coming back at some point. We'll get you to do a daily from school, live from school. Don't tell your mum and dad, though. yeah, live from the toilets. But there we go. So if you could subscribe to my channel, that'd be greatly appreciated. Links in the chat now. Stell's lovely long URL, there it is. But thanks everybody who's participated in the chat. Thank you for watching. Come on, you wines. I will see you very, very soon. Let's go.